Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you guys can all hear and see me fine. So welcome to this event. This is top tips for your undergraduate application at St George's University of London. My name is Lanisha. I'm the events officer here at St George's, and I'm going to be the host for the event today. So during this event, you'll be able to hear and see all of the speakers, but we won't be able to hear or see you. The only way that you'll be able to communicate with us is through sending us messages, questions through the chat box function. So you should all have a chat box on your screens where you're able to send us through any questions. So if you have any questions from now up until the end of the event, please do send those through to us. And we have current students and staff here ready to answer your questions. So the format of this event, it will start with a talk from Jennifer Harrison, who is one of our student recruitment officers, and she will talk to you about our top tips for admissions. We will then go into a talk about finance and accommodation from Gavin Taylor from the Student Services team. And then we will finish off the event with a live student panel. And so we have some of our current students giving you their top tips when applying to university. So if for whatever reason your connection cuts out, please do try and log back into this event. We will still be here streaming up until around 4:45. If for whatever reason you're unable to get back in, then this event is being recorded and we will house this recording on our website. So you will be able to look back at the recording there. The final thing I'll add is at the end of this event, there'll be a survey that will pop up on your screens. So I'd be very grateful if you could take a few minutes to fill out the survey when this webinar has finished, just to give us some feedback about this event so we can make improvements for future events. Okay, well, thank you for listening to me and the introduction. So we're now going to go into our first talk, which is going to be top tips for admissions. And this is going to be delivered by Jennifer Harrison from the student recruitment team. So if I could please ask Jenny to join us online.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Great, thanks, Lanisha. Hi there. Thank you all so much for coming along today. So let's get started with our discussion. So as Lanisha said, my name is Jenny Harrison, and I'm part of the student recruitment team here at St. George's. And hopefully you can all see my screen and see my slides. And in today's presentation, I will discuss the application and interview process for our undergraduate courses and provide some top tips from the admissions team when making your application. So starting off, I just want to explain a little bit about St. George's. So St. George's is a UK specialist health university. We were established back in 1752, so we have over 250 years experience in health science education, training and research. We're based in southwest London and we share our campus with one of London's busiest hospitals, which is St. George's Hospital. And this St. George's is also a major trauma centre for southwest London and Surrey, so it's a very busy hospital. Our close relationship with the hospital and our focus on providing healthcare training means that our students are surrounded by staff and students who are passionate about healthcare. And the university provides undergraduate and postgraduate courses, but in today's discussion, I'm going to focus on our undergraduate courses. But if you want details about our postgraduate courses, then please do go to our website. We require a minimum of level 3 qualifications to apply for many of our undergraduate degree programs, and the majority of these programs are three years in length. However, we do offer undergraduate program degrees that are longer, and you'll need to apply through Ucas, online through Ucas. And you'll find the Ucas course codes and the institution codes for each of our programs on our website. And you'll need these codes when you're making your application. So here you can see a list of our undergraduate degree programs. We offer a 4-year biomedical science MSci degree, or an integrated master's degree, as well as our 3-year BSc degree program. For those of you who are interested in our medicine degree programs, we have a 5-year MBBS program with the option to intercalate, and that means that you can do some additional study of a year and do a additional degree. We also offer a 4-year graduate entry medicine program, and to be eligible for this program, you must already be holding a degree. And for further details on these programs and to see the entry criteria, please do visit our website. When making an application to St. George's, it's important to apply by the Ucas application deadline. For our science and applied healthcare degree courses, the Ucas application deadline is the 26th of January. And if you're interested in applying for our medicine degree programs, the deadline for receiving these applications has already passed, and we require applications by the 15th of October. Before making an application, please ensure that you meet all entry criteria. You can visit our website and see the entry criteria for each program we offer. And in this diagram, you can see that for our science courses, so this is our biomedical science and clinical pharmacology programs, the admissions team review the Ucas application only before making a decision. So your personal statement and academic qualifications are essential to your application. For our allied health care courses, the admissions team consider your Ucas application, and you need to undertake an interview before a decision can be made. For our medicine courses, there's an additional or extra step that you need to complete, and that is an aptitude test. And that's considered alongside your Ucas application. If you're successful, you will be invited to an interview before a decision is made. So when applying for the undergraduate medicine program, all applicants must complete a Ucas Aptitude Test if they're applying for our undergraduate medicine program. That's the Ucas Aptitude Test. If you're applying for the graduate entry program, then all applicants must complete the GAMSAT Aptitude Test. For further information about these aptitude tests, you can visit the entry criteria page for each of these programs, and you'll find the overall cutoff scores going back several years. So you've made an application to St. George's. So now what happens? You'll receive an acknowledgement letter or email. The admissions team will assess your Ucas application and all other entry requirements. If successful, you'll be then invited to interview and then hopefully receive an offer. Now, there may be a delay between getting your acknowledgement email and getting a response from the admissions team, but please don't be concerned. The admissions team will review all applications that are received by the Ucas application deadline. As discussed earlier, our 2 science programs, so that's biomedical science and clinical pharmacology, there's no interview process, so the admissions team will make a decision directly from your application. So to be sure to check that you meet all the entry criteria before you apply, and then keep an eye out on the Ucas Hub account, on your Ucas Hub account, for any updates. For those of you who are applying for one of our clinical courses, you'll receive hopefully an offer, and you'll be required to complete what is called fitness to practice as part of your offer. Now, fitness to practice is that additional step that you need to do for clinical courses. And fitness to practice refers to a DBS or a police check and an occupational health check. Biomedical science and clinical pharmacology applicants are exempt from this, as I said earlier, because you're not a clinical course, and so you're exempt from this extra step. But for everyone else, you need to successfully, if you've successfully achieved an offer and you select St. George's as your firm choice, then you'll be sent all documents regarding fitness to practice over the summer. So please ensure that you promptly complete your fitness to practice, as it's an essential part of your offer. The same application process takes place for our international students. If you have an international qualification and you want to know more or know if your qualification will be considered, then you can visit our international qualifications page for guidance. You can also review the English language qualifications we accept. We have a team of experts who support our international students. So for further guidance, please visit our EU and International Student Support page for details. So I'm sure many of you might be wondering what you're going to be doing about work experience. And here you can see our admissions guideline for work experience. We are relaxing our work experience requirement during this pandemic. However, you still need to understand the realities of working as a healthcare professional and show how you have the necessary skills and attributes for your chosen career. And this might mean looking to do some online work experience or reflecting on the life skills that you already have, such as maybe working as part of a team. And you can find lots of useful information on our Explore St. George's webpage. And if you go to the making your application stand out section, you'll find guidance on our work experience requirements for each of our undergraduate programs, clinical programs. And if you go to our webinar section, you can watch a work experience webinar that we ran over the summer. So the application process is made up of a number of steps as shown here. With work experience should be something you're researching and undertaking, even if that can only be online, from now until the interviews begin. The Aptitude Test, and remember for St. George's, we require the Aptitude Test for our undergraduate program is UCAT, and for our graduate entry medicine program is GAMSAT. For other universities, if you're applying for medicine, and this is only for medicine applications, you may be required to do a BMAT aptitude test. And you'll take these tests in the same year that you'll make your application. Okay. And of course, if you're not applying for medicine, then you obviously don't need to do this step. The Ucas application deadline for medicine degrees, as I said earlier, is the 15th of January. And for undergraduate courses, it's the 26th of January. If you apply by the Ucas deadline, your application will be considered and a decision will be made. If you apply after the deadline, the course may be closed, so do check with the university's website and contact the inquiries team for assistance if you're not sure. When making a Ucas application, you'll need to check that you meet all the entry requirements for the course and that you've added your qualifications to your application. You'll need to complete a personal statement, and your school or education provider will need to provide an academic reference. If you're successful in meeting the entry criteria for the course, including the Aptitude Test for medicine, then you can expect to receive an invite to interview from university's admissions team. Universities interviews at St. George's usually run from November to March, with medicine interviews starting in November and undergraduate healthcare degree courses interviews starting in February. And finally, the all-important decision. If your Ucas application and interview are successful, then you can look to receive an offer from the university via Ucas. Decisions can take some time, so try to be patient with us. As I said earlier, if you've made your application by the Ucas deadline, then you will receive a decision from the university. And you can expect to hear back within 8 to 12 weeks of your interview. So at St. George's, we interview for all of our clinical undergraduate programs, except for our science courses, biomedical science and clinical pharmacology. Primarily, these interviews are a series of mini interviews called MMIs or multi-mini interviews. And for our healthcare science degree course, we provide a panel interview. During the interview process, candidates are presented with a series of questions. And here you can see our in-person interview or MMI room, where each cubicle or station will have one assessor, and the candidate or the interviewee will be asked a question. The assessor will sit within each station, and the interviewees will move from station to station until they have completed all of the required question. The amount of time you have to answer the question will vary between programs, as will the number of questions that are asked. For the 2022 application cycle, for those of you who are looking to apply and start your course in August or September of 2022, the admissions team will be providing remote interviews from this November onwards. So candidates will not be attending in-person interviews in accordance with the UK government social distancing guidelines. So during these remote interview process, candidates will record their answers to their questions. This remote MMI process lets you complete your assessment from the comfort of your home. Each MMI question will be marked by a different assessor in the same way we do for our in-person MMIs, or what we would do for our in-person MMIs. And MMIs are supported by a range of research which shows that the MMI format is the fairest and most robust system to recruit students. And for the 2021 admission cycle that we've just completed, we successfully interviewed over 3,000 applicants using our remote MMI process. So we are confident that this year will again provide a smooth and stress-free interview process. So what are we looking for when we're interviewing in the interview stage? So the interview is your opportunity to show the university who you are and to demonstrate your motivation and commitment to the course and to the profession that you want to join. Communication skills are essential within a clinical role, so ensure that you can describe what good communication is and that you can demonstrate that you have these skills. Remember to support your answers with examples from your work experience or your life experience wherever possible. And we're looking to see that your personal attributes and attitudes align with the values of the NHS. For details on the values of the NHS, please visit their website for further assistance, and you can see those details shown here. We additionally want to know, do you understand and can you demonstrate empathy and sensitivity? Can you make decisions? Are you efficient and a team member, an effective team member? And remember that your hobbies and interests can help to set you apart from other applicants. What aspects of your extracurricular activities would help you in your career and in the course? And have you developed skills that will help you? So there's some questions that you can be thinking about. And finally, the interview is a time when you can let us know what you can offer to our community. So remember to research the university as well as the course. Now let's look at some of the top tips from our admissions team. Apply by the application deadline. As I said earlier, to ensure that your application is considered, you must apply by the Ucas deadline. Some undergraduate courses may still be accepting and considering applicants after the deadline, but there's no guarantee. So apply by the deadline to be certain that we will consider your application. Check that all sections of your Ucas application form are complete and meet the entry criteria for the program. Take your time and check that there are no errors and that no information is missing. If you're applying with level 3 qualifications, the admissions team will also look at your GCSE grades too. So make sure that you meet all those GCSE requirements also. By the time you enroll onto a course, your school's email that may no longer be active, and if you've added that to your Ucas application, do make sure that you update the admissions team. If you provide your personal email account and that hasn't changed, then that's great. But if your email account is your school email and it has changed, do please get in touch with us and let us know. Your email is an important link to the university, so do make sure that you let us know if anything changes. Practice your interview techniques with your friends or family members and research how to prepare for interviews. There's lots of information out there, and we've got information on our website also. We know that it can seem like an eternity to wait for a decision, but please be patient with us. You may not receive a decision straight away, but you will receive an answer from the admissions team. In your personal statement and during the interview, you should be able to demonstrate why you are applying for the course and what you know about the course, the university, and the career that you wish to join. You can gain insight into a course, a university, and a career by speaking to students on that course or professionals working in that career. The admissions team send out a lot of important information, so make sure that you read the information that's given to you both carefully and fully. You'll most likely find the answers to your questions within the material that's provided to you. And finally, if you're not successful the first time, please don't give up. Sometimes courses will appear again during the clearing process. And clearing is open from July to October each year. Visit Ucas for more details on clearing, and also consider other courses that you might enjoy if you don't get your first choice. And that's the end of my presentation. I'll be happy to take questions from you. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, and if you have any questions, our details are there, so do please get in touch with us. Either give us a call or drop us an email, and we'd be very happy to answer your questions. That's it from the admissions team.
Thank you so much for that, Jenny. That was very informative. I hope our guests really enjoyed the information that you delivered and your top tips. Okay, so now we're going to go on to our next speaker. So now we're going to hear from Gavin Taylor.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Hi, Gavin. Thank you for joining us.
No worries. Very happy to be here. We're going to talk this afternoon about our top tips for finance and accommodation, I think. So let's dive in, shall we? All right. Let me see. So let's have a look. So these are our top tips from Student Services. Now, there's another matching presentation that we've given at a number of open days that goes through some basics around student finance and accommodation and how they work, both at George's and more generally at university, regardless of where you finally wind up going. So this is a kind of a companion piece. So if you need some more basic information, please do go back and check some of those recordings. There's loads of info on there. We've got lots of handouts, lots of other info that you can access that's applicable both to George's and elsewhere. So please have a look. Now, these are some things that we want you to think about now, and some things that you can get started doing, knowing that we've got a few months now between where we are sat at the end of November, beginning of December, and when hopefully you're starting your course with us in late August or September. So moving on, our top tips for student finance The main one at this point, given that we've got a number of months between now and the start of the program, is really to start planning. Now's the time to start having a think about your finances and to and may really make a plan about how things are going to work for you financially as you go. Now, there'll be a number of stages for this, and I want to kind of talk you through those one at a time. So the first one of these really is make a budget, which sounds like a tedious and stressful process, but trust us, it's actually a lot easier than you think. You can access a student finance calculator. There's one for Student Finance England. There's also one for the NHS if you're on a course that is funded by the NHS. And just as a reminder, those programs that are funded by the NHS are the allied health programs, so physiotherapy, radiography, occupational therapy, and the paramedic science program. They'll also be funded by Student Finance England as well. So if you go to either or both of those websites, if you fire in some really basic information, if you fire in what your plans are for where you want to live, what your family income is, and which course you're doing, it will spit you back out in a couple of seconds' time exactly how much money you can expect to get as a loan from Student Finance England or as a bursary from the NHS. So you've got a very good sense of what your income is likely to be, and you can do that for all of the years of the course. There's no reason just to do it for the first year. If you're planning on spending 6 years doing a medicine course, including your intercalated BSc, do 6 years. You absolutely can do that. So you've got a good picture of what things are going to be like for your income all the way through your program, and you can muck around and see what the different options are. And then once you've done that, pop along to studentcalculator.org is a great example of this, but there are lots of great student budget planners out there if you just Google them. And the great thing about Student Calculator, if you type in some really basic information, I am a student, I'm going to be on a healthcare program, I'm planning on living away from home in my first year and my in a halls of residence, and my program is going to be in London or outside of London or wherever. Again, it will go away and it will calculate exactly how much it reckons it's going to cost you to live for a year while you're in study, and that's a great thing to do. And then when you've got both of those things together, you can work out how much you've got coming in, how much you've got going out, and what other steps you might need to take to kind of fill those holes, whether that's part-time work, whether that's all kinds of different things that you might do to fill in that gap. So good thing to do, get off and get that started now. Second thing is to clear your debts and save as much as possible kind of starting now. Now, for all I've just said about what's available as income and outgoings, it is worth saying that regardless of how much money that you're getting from the NHS and student finance together, or just student finance, it's not a luxurious amount of money, and it is a tricky business to live on that and pay off credit card debts or loans or other things that you might have. So while you've got the opportunity now to really kind of double down on work and savings, take the opportunity to do that. It really will make things a bit easier for you when you get to starting your full-time course, because you won't have as much opportunity and you will have slightly higher outgoings than you would otherwise. Have the talk with family, not that talk, this is the other talk. It's equally awkward and it's about money. It really pays to have a very, very clear idea of exactly how much family support that you can expect when you are starting your degree. Whether that's the case that there might be less from the bank of mum and dad, or from other sources in the family than you think there might be. Or whether in some cases, as students have found out when they've had that conversation, there's slightly more than they thought there might be. Please have that talk so you know exactly the position that everybody is in as you're entering into your study. It's also worth just noting that when you get an indication back from a student finance calculator from student loan, for example, there's an assumed family contribution that sits alongside that as well. So as well as the amount that you might get in loan, you'll also see that each of these things will say, and we're also expecting a family contribution of X number of pounds. So it's very, very useful to let those folk who supposedly are the source of those funds to know that that's the level at which Student Finance England expects that funding to happen, and check with them as gently as possible as to whether that's a realistic expectation or no. Also well worth having a look into other sources of funding. There are lots of trusts and charitable organizations out there that are intended to fund students in higher education, especially we find for students who are undertaking STEM subjects, including, of course, medicine and any of the allied health courses and the research courses as well. So go out and have a good look around. A couple of example websites there. Grant Search at Turn to Us is great, as is the Scholarship Hub. Great places to get out and have a look and see what's out there. Both great little search engines. You can fire in some information, it will go off and check your demographics, where you live in the country, your gender, all these different things, and turn out some funding opportunities that you can chase down. We find that quite a lot of the grants that these things turn up tend not to be enormous. They might be £500, they might be £1,000, but if you are savvy and you string them together, you can go quite a long way to paying for some of those living costs or chasing down tuition fees if you're looking to self-fund, for example, on graduate entry medicine. Very useful things to do. And lastly, within my little tip around student finance is, don't forget to get your student finance application in. For students starting new university courses, remember there's a 21st of May deadline. So if Student Finance England have got your forms by the 21st of May, they guarantee having everything in place for you starting in September. If it goes in after that, they'll still accept it, but you might find there's a delay. So make sure you get your applications in by the 21st of May. Now, moving on and talking a little bit about accommodation. And these are slightly wider topics, but worth just thinking about. So from our experience of students starting in first year, regardless of whether that's your first time at uni or if you're coming back again for more for whatever reason, here are some really useful things to think about. One is when you're planning where you are going to stay, whether it's halls or residence, family home, wherever it is, I think it pays to starting from the proposition of thinking about how you want to live, not where you want to live. If you're thinking that you would really like to be super involved with the university community and you'd really like to engage in extracurricular activities and do lots of stuff with the various research societies and join the football team and all those things, you want to be thinking about moving as close as possible. And within that, thinking about halls of residence, or if you want to make lots of contact with other folk in your course, again, halls of residence, a great option. If you are a student with other commitments, if you are planning on doing something more like a commuter student, we are absolutely set up and able to support students, whether they're mature, straight from school, all those kind of things. So think about how you want to live and how you see your studies being. And that will really answer the question about where you want to live, as opposed to going, well, I'll live in halls, or I won't, or I'll look for something close and private, or I'll stay at home. Have a think about what you want your university experience to be, and that'll answer the question about where you want to live in your first year. Moving on from that, I think for everybody, consider halls of residence. We've got lots of students in the first year of all of our undergraduate programs who move into halls, and that includes our graduates as well. We've got a really thriving community of mature students, from graduate entry medics and physician associates through to PhD students and clinical teaching fellows who live in our halls of residence, not just our undergrads. Plenty of opportunities and plenty of space for folk coming straight from school, and it's a brilliant experience, I think, but also a great community and a great experience for folk who are graduates as well. And also keep an open mind to different experiences. What you'll find when you're moving into halls of residence is it's a reasonably random allocation. Now, Georges will always do our absolute best to make sure that there's more than one person from every course in a flat in halls, that folk are kind of coming from a similar place and experience in life. But you are going to meet some new people, and that's an amazing part of joining the first year of any university course. So keep an open mind as you're looking for and joining accommodation. And then my best bits of advice, the first one of which is relax. Bear in mind, if this is nerve-wracking, and it is nerve-wracking, I think, there are about 1.5 million students undertaking higher education in the UK at the moment, and they're managing. I think it's possible. I think you've got to think about it, but I think it's very possible. So please, this is a thing that everybody can do. Doesn't matter whether you're a mature student coming straight from school, whether it's something you've ever thought about before, or whether it's something you've been planning forever. Really, really, lots of people do this. It is very possible. So relax. The numbers are scary sometimes, but you'll get there. Next bit, think about money, maybe a little bit more than you do. I think if you're the kind of person that stresses about money, maybe think about it a little bit less. But if you're the kind of person who's really not interrogating, well, where's the money coming from for my tuition fees or for my maintenance, or what's going to happen with halls of residence, I think the opportunity is there really to think a little bit more about it, so you've got a good sense of it. So think about maybe a little bit more than you do. And lastly, remember that there's help. We've got a great finance advice team here at St George's. That's true really everywhere, wherever you wind up. And an accommodation team who are there to make sure you've got an amazing experience in your first year and all the way through uni. So please remember that there's always help, and there's always someone there who can answer a question, including me, and I'll hang out in the chat at the end of this presentation if you've got any questions about anything that I've talked about today. So moving on from there, if you're watching this as a recording, there's the contact information for us if you want to get a hold of us through the recruitment team, or you want to give a call through. We'll be very, very happy to take your questions and answer them as quickly as we can. And I'm also here after this presentation to talk to you and to answer some questions in the chat as well. So thanks very much for listening to this very short presentation, and look forward to seeing you at George's next year.
Thank you very much for that, Gavin. So as he said, he will still be around to answer any questions that you guys might have. So just send them into the chat box. And thank you to those of you that have sent your questions in so far. You still do have a few more minutes to send those in so we can get those all answered for you. So now we're going to go into the final session of this webinar, which is going to be top tips from a couple of our current students. So could I please ask Fahana and Misha to join us on screen, please? Hi, ladies. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys in the hands of these students. Just one moment. Okay. Can you guys see the slides? Excellent. Okay, Fahana, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, hello. So I'm Fahana. I'm currently on the graduate entry medicine program. So it's a 4-year program, on the 3rd year. So we call that P year in George's. Okay, so what I've been asked to do today is just share a couple of my tips about a few things surrounding making your undergraduate application. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Ucas application, and I think this has been covered earlier in the talk, but I think if you're applying next year, or if you're trying to apply by January, then I'd start thinking about this early. In terms of your personal statement, I think that's the first impression that you make on the university. So I think it's really important to think about why it is that you're interested in your course, and you'd want to include things like your prior experience as to why that makes you a good candidate for the course as well, and also to write about your personal experiences as to why you'd want to do that course in the first place. So yeah, definitely starting your personal statement early is really good, and just maybe going on the website and having a look at what requirements are needed for your course. So I'm applying for I'm in medicine, so if you're applying for medicine or any other allied health, it's really important to check those requirements on your respective university websites as well, just to make sure that you're applying to the correct universities with those requirements. So in terms of actually studying in London then, so the Tube is amazing in London. We've got such good transport links in Tooting. You can get to Central in around 20 minutes from Tooting just using the Tube. There's also lots of facilities to access Central using the bus. So there's a lot of, it's really easy to get around different places, and even later on if you need to go on placement, if you're a clinical student, it's really easy to get to those hospitals and placement, because Tooting is actually really well located in terms of transport. The next thing I'm going to talk about is studying. So it's really important to kind of get that balance when you're studying at university. Yes, going through the books in the library and reading is really important. The library is really well equipped. It's got the computers. We've got a few computer rooms that you can use. Also, it's just important to also balance your social life and things that you enjoy around studying as well, just to make sure it doesn't get too overwhelming. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is staying at Hall. So I stayed at Halls in my first year and I really enjoyed it. It was a really good experience. I think maybe my first top tip would be maybe in the first couple of days, try to go around and meet your flatmates and try to get to know them. And I think throughout the year that really helps, because you kind of develop your own sort of support system in your flat in your first year, if you try to get comfortable with your flatmates earlier on. And also the kitchen is kind of like a communal space in the flat, so lots of people go in and out, and it's, you know, whilst you're cooking your meals you can have a chat with your flatmate, so it just kind of is really nice in that sense. So yeah, that's what I have to say, and I'll just pass on to Misha now. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you for all those tips, Farhana. So I'm Misha. I've taken a slightly different path to Farhana. So we're both in our P year, so our penultimate year of medicine. But I've come from the undergraduate course, and I also did an intercalated degree. So this is technically my 5th year at the university. So I've been going there for a while. So I've got quite a few top tips to share with you guys. Starting off with the sort of nice topics of socializing, my #1 tip would be to join as many societies as possible. If you think you might even be remotely interested, just join it. It's not a contract, it's not going to lock you in for the whole of your degree. You can attend one event and no others. So just join as many as you can, and you'll meet so many people by doing that, that you are guaranteed to find at least one person that you'll enjoy spending time with. The other is, it sounds a bit like adult to do, but scheduling. If you schedule time to meet up with your friends, I found it's very useful to remind yourself to socialize. I find as a student it can be quite easy to just sort of get whisked away with all of the studying. So having regular days where you can meet up for lunch, or as Farhana said, using that kitchen to have dinner every night with everybody. So you're making sure to get that human contact in while staying busy. You then have the horrible work-life balance. I'm sure many people will tell you that they're still not pros at this work-life balance. I don't think anybody is really a pro. You just find what works for you. So I'm going to avoid the cliche of saying time management as the best tip, and take 2 different slightly approaches. So my first tip would be to make to-do lists. So I swear by to-do lists, just writing down what you need to do and when. So throughout my sort of 5 years at university, I've been in full-time employment whilst doing my degree. I've been in part-time employment. I've been under self-employment. I've taken sort of different paths, and that's not because that we don't get enough student finance. Sometimes you just want that little bit extra holiday money. So using to-do lists, I was able to visualize what I needed to do, and sort of crossing it off is very satisfying. And the other thing to do for your work-life balance is to develop your ability to say no. It sounds quite easy to just be able to say no to people, but it's a lot harder than you think. I struggle with it a lot, saying no, so I take on way too many things sometimes. But by saying no, you'll realise that you will achieve that work-life balance a little bit better, because you're taking on what's realistic for you. In terms of preparing to apply, look up as many degrees as you're all interested in, look up all of the universities which offer them, and if possible, go to open days or speak to students who go there. So St George's have this online part of our website where you can chat with current students. So see if other universities do that, and if they do, great, have a little chat with a student. For your personal statement, I'm very against writing it in one sitting, and that's coming from someone who did write it in one sitting. So I would recommend short 20-30 minute sessions of just writing a few bits down, and it will come together. So write down a few key qualities that you need for your degree, and then write down a few examples of situations where you've showed those qualities, and try to avoid cheesy cliches. The final few tips are about travelling around London. So you can see we've got an 18+ Oyster card. So this is where you get 30% discounts on all of the travel in central London. And then you also have the tube, which Farhana mentioned. So the London Underground is so convenient. And luckily, we've also got the night tube coming back. So any late night studying, late night socializing, you have a safe way of getting home at night in the next few years. But thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Misha and Farhana. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing those top tips from our current students. So we're now at the end of the event. We have had a lot of questions come in, which have all been answered. And I'm hoping that everybody that is listening to this live has sent in the questions that they wanted answered. We've got another, let's say another minute. If you have any last minute questions, then send those in now and we'll get those answered as quickly as possible. Otherwise, any questions that you have about your application, interviews, maybe about course choices, whatever it is, you can send your query in to study@sgul.ac.uk, and our inquiries team will endeavour to answer those questions or forward them on to the necessary departments that can answer those questions for you. I would really like to thank everybody that has joined us today. I hope this information was useful, and if you would like to hear back this webinar, then it will be housed on our website on our webinars page. So if you go onto our website and go to the Explore page and go into our webinars, you will see all of our past recordings there. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you have a pleasant evening and all the best with your applications if you haven't submitted yet, and if you have submitted already, I still wish you all the best, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in the very near future. Thank you and good night.